This year, we celebrated the 25th anniversary of U.S. Women in Nuclear. Therefore, it's only fitting that this year's outreach webinar is all about us. Last year, U.S. Women in Nuclear adopted new strategic objectives and metrics. The following webinar explores the desired outcomes behind the new strategic objectives. We'll then get into a tutorial on how to use the new metrics tool and how to submit your chapter metrics. We'll follow that up with a Q&A. My name's Selena Smith. Let's dive in.
Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you all can hear me okay. Caitlin, I'm going to go ahead and get started if that's okay with you.
Sounds good.
Awesome. Well, welcome everybody to our metrics webinar in 2024. My name is Julie Ann Edwards, and so glad you all are here. In case you did not know, we have over 130 registered to attend today's session. And also we had over 150 attend our in-person metrics training at the conference, and really looking forward to spending some time together, going through the objectives as well as going through some training on the new metrics. So with that, we'll go through some housekeeping items to get us started. First, we are recording this session as many folks could not make the time. So we are going to post this recording on our U.S. Women in Nuclear YouTube channel. So if folks from your chapters or perhaps friends at a different site or chapter were not able to attend, please ensure that they know that this recording will be available online, hopefully by the end of the week is the target schedule. Also, we have a chat feature. However, we are going to use the Q&A function in the bottom panel of your screen. You will see a Q&A with a question mark and a box around it. If any questions should arise during the session, we ask that you use that feature and do not use the chat feature so that we can properly monitor and ensure that we answer all questions appropriately. All right, with that, we'll go to the next slide, Caitlin. So presenting with me today is Margie Barnes, Caitlin Ricola, Lily Stuck, Denise Ingo, and Victoria Dennis. A lot of our time and attention has been ensuring that this meeting will go very smoothly. Obviously, a lot of buildup into building the materials that you're about to see presented today, and very excited that you're here. Go to the next slide, Caitlin. So let's talk about the session we're about to have. We're going to start with a quick overview of the new strategic objectives that were rolled out last year. As many of you all recall, we went from 3 strategic objectives to 4. This was to align with some of the industry challenges and opportunities that face us today as a whole. And I won't go through those in detail, but we will allow 4 members each to present one objective in a little bit more detail to ensure that everyone is grounded on what the new objectives are and some of the outcomes we're hoping to gain from those objectives. Then we'll transition to Victoria Dennis, who has been leading the transition of our metrics. She will spend about 25 minutes going through some examples as well as some how-to guide on how to apply and use the metrics going forward. As many of you know, we have been, over the last 20 plus years, been using an hour-based system, and we are moving to a point-based system, and those details will be shared when Victoria is on camera. Then we'll conclude the session using, again, the Q&A feature, allowing you guys to ask us very detailed questions to ensure that your chapters are able to comply with the new requirements and have a successful outcome and hopefully become an award recipient for next year. With that, I want to invite Margie on camera to start with the overview of Objective 1. Welcome, Margie.
Thank you, Julianne. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Margie Barnes, and the team that's working on Objective 1 is Rebecca Salvador, who's our team lead, Judy Ezel, and myself. Objective 1 states, attract a diverse workforce to pursue professions and trades in the nuclear sector. And we intentionally chose sector because what we're trying to reach out to is much broader than just our people at the power plants. It also deals with the national laboratories. It deals with technical colleges, universities, and all the way down to middle school. And you'll see as I go through the desired outcomes. We have 3 desired outcomes for this objective. Desired outcome number 1 states increase the visibility of diverse roles and career options in the nuclear industry. And I know when I was coming through the industry, if somebody would have had a roadmap to kind of help me navigate my way, that would have been nice. And so we're looking to try to make that happen. Desired outcome number 2 states to increase student engagement in U.S. WIN affiliated activities at middle schools, high schools, vocational schools, community and trade schools, universities, and technical colleges. And what we notice now is that the workforce of tomorrow is starting in our middle schools now. So to give them enough information to try to guide them, even as they're going through middle school and high school, to try to pick a career path as they're making those choices. And then desired outcome number 3 is to integrate US WIN develop solutions, and next, which is nuclear executives of tomorrow, their capstone. So each one of these groups, the next groups, create a capstone. So we want to use that information. And if we can get it into the state educational curriculum, that would be great. And it gives them a tool that they can use as they are trying to, once again, create a career path for our younger students. Next slide, Caitlin. And so some of the solutions that we have come up with thus far is to impact state educational curriculum. So launch, see it to imagine it. And that's a toolkit that one of our next capstones was developed upon. And sometimes when I look up, I need to see somebody that looks like me. And if I can see somebody that looks like me, it gives me a better idea of what I can achieve possibly. And so we want them to see people that look like them. And so if we can get that information, that toolkit down into middle schools and once again into the colleges, into that curriculum, that would be great. Secondly is just membership drive. So we're just trying to increase our numbers within US WIN. And so we're going to have an annual membership drive that's led by our professional development committee and the regional coordinators, reaching all the way, once again, down into the student chapters so that the colleges will have that information. And then third is just a career playbook. Once again, it's just talking about what's the roadmap. And everybody's roadmap is not the same, but are there different ways that I can get to the career that I want to get there? And also, when we are trying to develop these things, if there's somebody out there already working on these issues, or we want to partner with them. So we don't believe in recreating the wheel. If we can partner with someone to make some of these things happen, that would be great also. And then Atomic Allies 2.0. So in 2020, we signed a memorandum of agreement with the ANS, so the American Nuclear Society, NAYGN, so the North American Young Generation in Nuclear, and NEI, Nuclear Energy Institute. So we signed a memorandum of agreement. And so we want to take that to the next level. So what does that look like? How does those groups that's already proponents of nuclear, how do we take them and do more with them? And then lastly, just the tradeswomen. And so one of the things that we realized is that we had not been reaching into the trades as much as we could have. And so we're trying to increase our knowledge and partnership with trade organizations, because we know with new nuclear on the horizon, we need them to be prepared to put individuals in these positions. And so those are some of the things that we have been doing. Once again, it's associated with the career awareness website. And that website is supposed to be launched in September through NEI. And then we've already started building relationships. And then the last thing I'll just talk about is just collaborating on centralized educational programs and funding through Oak Ridge Associated University, and that will occur in September of 24, that launch will. But they also have a STEM accelerator, and we're trying to create a meeting between a number of organizations that we all know, NEI, ANS, INPO, EPRI, to say, okay, we've already done this, and these are our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And so, and how do we deal with that as a group or organization? And so with that, I will turn it over to Caitlin to discuss objective 2.
Thanks, Margie. My computer's just moving a little slow. So I'm going to speak to you about our second objective. And this team from the steering committee that worked on this was myself, Lily Stuck, Tova Anderson, and Jamie Copel. And so we spent some time talking about the main subject there. So foster a culture of inclusion and belonging that retains a diverse workforce in the nuclear sector. And we really focused on the words inclusion and retain. And inclusion is a hard concept to create programs for because inclusion is something that you can drive, but it really has to be authentic. And it has to not be just a performative act that is attempting to include people. So we really worked hard to try to come up with some desired outcomes and then solutions and programs to meet this objective. The 3 listed here are some top line outcomes that if our programs are successful, that these would become true statements. So build an authentic relationships to drive an inclusive environment, inclusive community, excuse me. And that community can be win at large, but also supporting our chapters at their local level and in regions as well. So creating those communities and whatever they form they take. Desired outcome 2 is on really advocating for working parents and caregivers to support work-life fluidity, return to workforce, and retention. And you'll notice here we chose not to use the words work-life balance because that's not a real thing. And also because it can lead to the illusion that somehow as long as you can balance everything equally, then you're doing the right thing. And so we want to create programs that help caregivers and parents talk about that fluidity, how life ebbs and flows, how returning to the workforce could look, how we keep working parents and caregivers of all kinds in the workforce. And you'll see that this is a specific sect of people, and that's because in our surveys that we've done post-conference over the years, we always receive lots of commentary and feedback about how can we program or create conversations for working parents and caregivers, especially after the pandemic, getting people back into the workplace or supporting the creation of programs that help for an on-ramp back into the workforce, or programs to retain people through challenging times. Desired outcome 3 is integrating diverse skills and talent into the industry's workforce and U.S. WIN. So really this dovetails nicely with objective 1 and working with the trades and getting young women and girls into STEM careers and making sure that as we integrate those diverse skills and talent that they feel included in the culture of the site that they're at. So we've had conversations with different aspects of our industry's workforce, and depending on where you work or if you're from a trade or maybe you work in a high demanding area like operations or even in security, which feels very separate from the plant workers or your sites workers. How do we make sure that all of the people who are working in nuclear feel included and integrate their diverse skills, not just into their workplace, but to benefit the industries as a whole? So then our programs and solutions, we've started to kick off some of the ideas we had at the conference. That includes community conversations, which you may have seen if you attended this year. We had a pilot with a total of 50 participants, and we split, so I'm jumping to 3 here, but we split the conversation into 3 subject areas. The first was caregivers, and that could be caregiving for an ill family member, a child, fostering a child, elderly parents, a child or family member with special needs. And so that was one group. The next was student and early career. And that was really to have people share experiences about entering the workforce. It's a different workforce than I entered. So there's a lot of hybrid workers, there's remote workers, and how do new workers to the industry, including students, navigate that different environment. And then chapter growth and engagement, which was just a chance for chapters to exchange best practices, challenges, how they overcame, budget resource issues or getting people to attend programs. So that was really successful, and we hope to continue that at the conference. And the point of it really is just to create conversation. There was no note-taking or need to create actions that drove out of those building sessions. It really was just to allow people to connect on a personal level and share their experience. We also plan, going back to one, to do an industry survey. We're working with a professional group to figure out how exactly to put that together and what kinds of questions we want to ask, but more to come on that. Part of the industry survey outgrowth ideally would be a recognition-based award for companies who are performing and meeting the objectives of US WIN and specifically inclusion and mentorship and growth of women. And you'll see here that we talked about identifying the top 3 companies and then celebrating those at NSIAC in front of their peers, which is always a good opportunity to shine a light on some positive activity. And then number 4 is continuing to grow and develop our tools that we already have, which include Next and the Culture of Belonging Toolkit that the last class created in 2023. The DE&I library, continue to populate that and make sure that people know it's a resource. You'll see the partnership here with the Center for Paid Parental Leave Leadership. They are the ones that would help us with the survey. And then from that survey, potentially create a toolkit to develop best practices. And then lastly, I would just note that 2 other things we worked on this year too was the culture track and really just elevating the quality of sessions and structuring the engagement there. And additionally, we plan to, like I said, kick off the planning for the membership survey this fall. So I will now turn it over to Lily, who can talk about Objective 3.
Hi, everyone. So for Objective 3, the wording is create professional development and networking opportunities for career advancement. So both professional development and networking has always been a part of our strategic objectives, and that does not change with the new revision. And we're just looking for maybe a more targeted approach in some of the things that we would like to develop. So some of those outcomes are to look at the gender balance in middle level and executive level management and try to help support closing that equity gap. The second desired outcome is to continue to increase attendance in our conferences, both national and regional. And you see there also with 100% EAC engagement. EAC stands for our Executive Advisory Council. So our Executive Advisory Council is an addition to our National Steering Committee, and it's composed of executives from across our industry who advocate for women in nuclear and support us and act as a sounding board for some of the work that we're doing. And so just hoping to continue to get them engaged and provide those networking opportunities. The third desired outcome is a functional membership directory and database that enables cross-functional networking. So that some of these mentoring relationships that we're developing programs will also happen naturally through a developed membership directory that that members can use to naturally reach out to everyone. So some of the solutions and programs for Objective 3. If you'll flip the slide, Caitlin. So the first set of those are the NEXT programs. So NEXT stands for Nuclear Executives of Tomorrow. And this program was initially launched because we were looking to support women who were in their company succession planning for becoming an executive in their company, and noticing that a drop off seemed to happen between people in that pipeline and those who are actually achieving that level of leadership, and wanting to create a program that supported those women who were interested in pursuing executive level leadership roles. So the Nuclear Executives of Tomorrow program looks at developing women both personally and professionally, and helping empower them to really lean into their natural leadership style, and also creating a network that they can lean into and have supporting them. So it's a annual program with a cohort of, typically we've had around 12 to 14 people. Our class that kicked off at the national conference is our largest class yet, and so it creates this real natural network that they can have of other women in similar experiences who are supporting and encouraging each other. And we have seen great success with that. So it's been very much embraced by the executives in our industry, and we have observed a 60% promotion rate within the first year of graduates from this program. So, looking at that program, we wanted to make sure we had a strong pipeline. So, the Nuclear Executives of Tomorrow program itself is for women who are already in their company's strategic plans for succession planning for those executive levels. And so, to help develop that pipeline for future next cohorts, we've developed the Next Up program, which has a broader reach to serve motivated women who are on the path to senior leadership positions. So the next program is a year-long program. Next Up is more targeted and more accessible, where it has 3 virtual. So for example, this year there were 3 virtual sessions in July, followed by an in-person session following the national conference there in Pittsburgh as well. So the 2023 pilot of that was very successful, and we just 2024 cohort had 43 members. So we're really excited about the success of the next programs, and we have a vision for a next steps program that would basically be like an alumni retreat for graduates of the next program. The second solution and program we're looking at is the membership directory. So, as many of you might know, we already have a membership directory on the website. What we've noticed with that is that it's underutilized, and most people haven't put a lot of personal information in there. And so, we're looking at doing some enhancements, such as increasing the number of fields that are on there. Right now, there's just a big field that people can populate with, any statement that they want. But if we try to streamline it by putting more fields, maybe even some drop down arrows, so that wording is the same, so that you can search the membership directory for people in a particular position or with particular interests. And we are hoping to just continue to expand on that. So this is a plug for everyone to go check their profile on the WIN membership directory. So if you go to the membership directory, you can edit your profile. And like I said, there is a big comment field. So go ahead and start now by populating in there some of your work experience, maybe what your future interests are or areas you'd like to develop in. And also something that's really important is that to protect our members' privacy, we do not share contact information with other members there in the membership directory. So, you signed up on our website with an email that's not visible to anyone else. So if you do want other WIN members to have the opportunity to reach out to you through the directory, you need to go in there and perhaps put your LinkedIn, link to your LinkedIn profile is a great way to help others get in contact with you without providing your information publicly. The membership directory is only visible after you log into the website. So there is already a level of privacy there for you, where it should be only other registered WIN members on our website who can view the details on your directory. So the third solution program is PD and Communications Committee. So that's the Professional Development Committee and the National Communications Committee working together. All of our public speaking and communication skills are part of public development. And so just hoping to have those committees collaborate to provide areas for development for all of our members in that area. The fourth is conferences. So hopefully some of you tuning in today have the opportunity to attend our last national conference. Last month in Pittsburgh, we had record-breaking attendance with over 860 registered members. And conferences are always just so energizing to me. I really get a lot out of them. And so we're hoping to continue to grow those, continue to expand the involvement of our next graduates, grow member participants, and also to have executives from our companies and our chapters come, because it's so engaging and inspiring at those conferences that then it's great. It helps to carry that outside into all of the other work that WIN is doing. And so hoping to continue to have more executive level engagement in those, both so that they can take that and support their chapters, but also for the networking opportunities it provides for our members. And then the last program listed here is the GROW program. So this stands for Growth Relationship Opportunities in US WIN. And this is a mentorship program. The pilot was in 2023 to 2024 year, and it was so successful. It is our team of volunteers works really hard to pair the mentees and the mentors to create pairings that really align with where mentors' strengths are and where mentees are hoping to grow. And there is a lot of meetings between just the mentors and mentees, but there's also some facilitated sections to help develop and provide learning opportunities and also networking opportunities. So that pilot was very successful, and we're now accepting applications for the upcoming year's session. So the deadline for that has been extended to August 23rd. So you can go onto the website under news and events, and you'll find a link there for the GROW program that includes links to the applications for that. And note that you do have to get your supervisor or manager to contribute to that application to make sure they're bought into your participation. So you might need a little bit of time to organize their contribution on that. And then one other thing to mention in this area is that we've always maintained a LinkedIn group that is extremely active. It has a lot of organic posting, people posting and sharing webinar opportunities, job opportunities, just conversations. It's organically, it's very natural way to reach out to your other WIN members and have a conversation. So we still have the U.S. Women in Nuclear LinkedIn group, but we have now created a Women in Nuclear LinkedIn page. So that appears as a company page where we can, other people can tag U.S. Women in Nuclear in their LinkedIn posts. We can post as U.S. Women in Nuclear, share announcements, and anybody in Women in Nuclear can go and add themselves as an employee to the U.S. Women in Nuclear page, that company page. The way our team of volunteers will approve that is they'll check if you are registered on the website as a WIN member, which is free to do if you haven't done that already, if you're active in your local chapter and haven't created your account. So anyone who's registered on the website, they can request to be an employee on the LinkedIn page, and we'll approve that. So that's a great new development out there for our members. And a reminder that we have a professional development library on the website that we request all chapters contribute to and also utilize as for ideas for their chapters. So say you as a chapter do a great professional development event, please go submit that idea to the professional development library. It's basically a tool for benchmarking other chapters or getting ideas, and it can be an amazing tool, but it requires your participation to make the most of it. So, all right. And with that, Denise Ingo is going to be explaining Objective 4 to us.
All right, good morning, good afternoon. I'm Denise Ingo, and I'm here and honored to talk to you about Objective 4. I worked on this objective with Fatma Yilmaz and Lisa Jaworski. So Objective 4 is all about inspiring advocacy and public support for the advancement of nuclear energy and technology. This is not new to U.S. Women in Nuclear. Public outreach was an original pillar within the U.S. Women in Nuclear organization, and it's super important. Advocacy is about gaining support from others to help you express your views and wishes. It's going to help us advance nuclear industry. We're here to advocate for and promote nuclear technology. This is reaching out to our elected officials, general members of the public, our communities, our friends, and even our family. So our desired outcome, number one, is to leverage U.S. Women in Nuclear members to become more active advocates of nuclear. Advocating for nuclear technology should be easy, right? Nuclear power provides nearly 20% of our energy is clean energy. The safe, reliable, always on, 24/7 protects the air quality in our environment by producing massive amounts of carbon-free energy. Nuclear technology is used in medical fields to help diagnose and heal patients through nuclear imaging and the use of radioisotopes. It's used in agriculture to help control insects and plant breeding, and food irradiation is used to kill bacteria that can cause foodborne diseases. Nuclear technology is used in space exploration, and the list goes on. So it should really be easy for us as folks who work in the industry, who are U.S. Women in Nuclear members, to get out there and get our voices and let them be heard. We also, through desired outcome number 2, want to have intentional engagement and outreach with local, state, and federal policymakers. I make it a point to always go and meet with my congressmen and senators when they're in the area. And you'd be surprised that not a lot of constituents take the time to go and meet them in person. So it's usually about a 30-minute appointment that you can book with them, and you can just tell them, how nuclear technology is used and how important it is to our daily lives. The third desired outcome is to engage existing and next generation of workers to advocate for nuclear energy. You heard a bit through the other objectives about the existing workers, but we also want to tap into that next generation, right? The folks coming up who will take our place. They think about things very differently. They didn't live through some of the experiences that we have. So we want to tap into them and get them early and get them to be natural advocates of nuclear technology. This is an objective that we can all collaborate on and support each other. Some of us are at utilities, some of us are vendors. We may work at a government lab or a private entity, but we can work together to ensure policies and public opinions are favorable to our industry as a whole. Next slide, please, Caitlin. We have some solutions that are going to help us get here. The first one is really by leveraging Nuclear Matters. So sign up, become an ambassador through Nuclear Matters. They provide just-in-time opportunities to support the industry. It could be as simple as receiving a form letter that you type in your name and your zip code, and it provides the name of your representative, and that letter goes directly to them to support an industry goal. Our goal here is to teach or really inform our elected officials and their staff, because sometimes, it's just as productive to meet with the staff members about nuclear science and technology, trying to inform them all those wonderful things that we already know about our industry and help them make informed decisions. A lot of the public is now getting on board, being supportive of nuclear. It just hasn't trickled through all the policymakers at the local, state, and federal level. So let's all get involved with Nuclear Matters and let's keep pushing our industry. The second is by development of a speaker series in coordination with the Professional Development Committee. Work with NEI and others to develop a speaker series. And that speaker series is to help us as U.S. Women in Nuclear members understand the issues that are influencing the industry. So we don't always understand what the politicians are thinking. We don't always understand the bigger picture that hits politics. And so we're going to try and help understand what's influencing the people, kind of get in their heads. We're going to gain some talking points. Advocacy should be easy. I know we're all busy, so we're trying to develop what has been in the public outreach library on the U.S. Women in Nuclear website is tools for you to grab and go, take a little bit of time, go visit folks, and get the, the word out. We also want to work with the Communications Committee to continue bringing visibility and recognition to U.S. women in nuclear members. There are several outreach efforts that highlight our diverse members. Some of these can be found on the Winning Edge and the YouTube playlists and all the social media accounts. So make sure that you follow, like, and subscribe on social media. We are going to adjust the member spotlight into I Am a Nuclear Professional. And part of that is to add in a component of advocacy to the videos that we've done in the past. So that way, not only are we sharing ourselves with one another, but we're also getting that advocacy out there in the videos that we're making. So we've got a couple of different videos and different venues out there on the U.S. Women in Nuclear YouTube. The playlists include I'm a Nuclear Professional, Day in the Life. We have mentoring moments up there, and we have Ask a Nuclear Professional. So all kinds of different tools for us. We also have Nuclear Science Week. That is a national event that occurs each year. This year it's October 21st through the 25th. It is the 15th anniversary of Nuclear Science Week. Nuclearscience.org has a bunch of free educational tools and STEM resources that you can just take and grab and go and get out there and be advocates. And if you do that, then you can participate in the Most Reactive Chapter contest. The deadline for submissions in that is November 30th of 2024. And our last solution is really around leveraging the Inspire Toolkit and additional toolkits that may be developed by future Next Capstone projects. So we heard a little bit about the Nuclear Executives of Tomorrow program. Each one of those programs has a capstone project, and they're developing tools for us as women in nuclear members to use and to leverage. You'll see when we talk about metrics, we're developing these objectives to build upon each other, right? You attend a speaker series so that way you hear the message, you understand the influence. Then you go to a Nuclear Matters event locally and you talk. Then you come back and you share those in a video or you post it on social media. We want to provide you with the tools that you can grab and go and advocate for the advancement of nuclear energy and technology. We want to make it simple for you. So I really look forward to seeing you all in videos on our YouTube channel. I want to thank you all very much. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Victoria Dennis, who's going to talk to us about the new metrics.
Thank you, Denise. I have the pleasure today of discussing our revised metrics process. So I had the opportunity to lead the metrics task force, and that included members from our metrics committee. Representative from them is Charlotte Bivings, and Brenda Mills and Tova Anderson as the steering committee liaison, as well as the awards committee, Marianne Stasko and Lisa Zarowski as our steering committee member there, and also a representative from each of the 4 objective groups that you just heard from to make sure that we were reflecting that in our new metrics. So the metrics have been revised for several reasons. We've heard you ask for years about making it easier. We've simplified the process. As Julianne mentioned, we're no longer counting hours. We've gone to a points process, and that was really inspired by a comment last year about the See It to Imagine It toolkit. We said, we should get bonus points for using that, and it really inspired this points process and focusing on the kind of behaviors and activities that we want to encourage. We've also heard how challenging it can be to upload worksheets, so there's no more uploads. We've heard that members can't access Google Docs, so we've transitioned to using Microsoft products, and hopefully that will alleviate all those issues. And most importantly, we've revised our strategic objectives, so we're revising the metrics to reflect those changes, which will eventually be reflected in our awards process as well. On the next slide, you'll see that we are trying to promote desired chapter activities to align with our strategic objectives. We want to recognize and promote the U.S. WIN programs and materials that you just heard a lot about. We want to make sure that we're sharing our message through various avenues and promoting our activities and sharing the activities that we've done. We also want to recognize when we collaborate with other groups to amplify our events. So the next slide, you'll start to see some screenshots from the new worksheet. We're still going to use an Excel worksheet. It does not have to be uploaded. It's going to be yours to keep, and you're going to use it to copy and paste from this document into a Microsoft Forms. If you haven't used Forms, it's like a survey, and we've gone through and tried to simplify the process as much as we can for our chapters to submit. You'll want to retain your worksheets every quarter in case the Metrics or Awards Committee has questions during their reviews. You'll see at the bottom of the worksheet, there are multiple tabs. We'll go through what's on some of those tabs. On the one that we're showing now, you're going to capture your chapter information and contact information for the person submitting it, because that's who's going to get questions about it. You're also still going to include your chapter size, the total chapter size, for the number of people that are registered for your chapter on the WIN website, and then also your active number of members during that quarter, because we believe the awards committee is still going to want to use that for determining awards. You'll see that the left and right of the chapter member info tab. On the left is the metrics committee information. That's available, how the process works and more about the committee. And then to the right, you'll see there's a guide, and then objective 1 guide, objective 2 guide. So we'll go through what some of that information is, but you're going to be capturing information on each of the info tabs. And then those guides are there to help explain what's on each one. So on the next slide, okay, you'll see this is an example of how to submit capturing your chapter members that are committee members or participate in some of our US WIN programs. So just wanted to point out, like, one line per member, and then you can list all the different committees that they're on. Our metrics reviewers are going to have lists from each committee chair of who's on their committee to validate what's submitted. Just a note, something different is each chapter is only going to get credit for one leading group member. So that same amount of points per chapter. Even if a chapter shares those responsibilities among several people, it's still the same amount of activity. So one leading group member will be recognized on each of those, each quarter for each chapter. And then for things like the Grow and Next program, somebody that's in Grow or Next, you'll expect to have them on your metrics when you submit them for 4 quarters, since those are year-long programs. The Next Up program, the bulk of the activity happens in quarter 3, so all the points will be awarded in quarter 3. We wouldn't expect anyone to be submitted for Next Up in any of the other quarters per year. I think that's it for that page. On the next slide, okay, thank you. So this is getting into the objectives tab. There's 4 of them to match the 4 objectives you just heard about. There's a list of activities, and right now there's still a category of other, because we know we haven't captured everything. We're still expecting to grow this list a little bit as we see things submitted over the next couple of quarters. But you want to enter the information as it shows in the example on that white line. But you're going to be entering your information in the blue cells, and we color coded those cells to make it easy when you go to enter this data. You're going to copy that chunk of blue cells and paste it. And we'll talk in a few minutes about where you're going to paste that information. You'll see you're still going to put in things we've used to capture the date, a title of your event, how many WIN members supported it or participated, who your audience was, how many people in that audience there were, and then a short description to help the Awards and Metrics Committee review this particular activity, make sure it's captured in the right objective, because we're going to be, observing or using data to analyze, where we're spending our time. That gray box is for you to enter additional data that you want for your records, like who participated in your events, but we don't want to clog that up in the blue data that the Metrics Committee is going to be reviewing. On the next tab, or next page, Thank you. So I talked about guide tabs. So after every objective where we'll enter data, there's a guide to give you some descriptions of what those activities are and examples of what to include and what not to include. So it is highly recommended before you start entering your data on your worksheet that you read through all of the information, all the activities available to list for all 4 objectives. This way you enter it on the right one and you're not having to go back and move things. It's like, oh, it seems like it'll fit better here or there. So it's good to know where everything is. And of note, when the pilot chapters participated, they actually gave us feedback that these lists are a great idea, a great place to find ideas for their chapter to hold these activities and events. These are living documents. We'll be adding to it so you have ideas of things to add, of the what to include, what not. Please share them and we will get them added. On the next slide, we'll talk about a couple specifics. One of the things you'll see on the guide is we've attempted to determine the right number of points to apply for activities. We made some adjustments after the pilot. They may not be perfect, but they're our best guess of what is going to be a good number of points per activity. You don't need to apply the points. The metrics committee would just have to validate that anyway. And they're going to become our subject matter experts. And for consistency, they're going to be applying the points in the spreadsheet that they're going to be working with. But you want to make sure that you carefully note what information is required that are going to get you points. So some entries require that you list how many members participated. And then different activities, you'll see while social activities are very important for team building and inclusivity and belonging, we also recognize that PD and DEI activities are also a little bit more valuable to us. They provide more valuable to our membership. So there is a little bit more points for those activities than social. So you want to make sure you capture how many people are participating and then capture them in the correct objective. Another difference is a membership drive is only awarded points for new members that they recruit. So we really want to focus on results, not just activity. So this is one example where that holds true. So if you have a membership drive once a week, you're not necessarily going to get points if you're not getting members. So you want to make sure that you're spending your time efficiently and getting results for your activities. And there's also a maximum number of chapter meetings that you can receive points for each quarter. Again, we want to reward results rather than just activity. On the next page, since we have split out attracting a diverse workforce from public outreach, and that is now called advocacy, something that previously would have been captured in public outreach pillar is now going to fall under Objective 1, attracting a diverse workforce to pursue professions in the trades and nuclear sector. Some of those examples are STEM activities and Boy Scout and Girl Scout badge events. So especially for like those Scout events, you're going to need to determine if activities are meant to attract people to the STEM careers, which would fall under Objective 1, or are we trying to educate them about nuclear energy as a solution to climate change, which would fall under Objective 4. If you do have both of those components in your activity, you can list it in both objectives and work with your metrics committee person to split those points. It would still be worth 20 points total, but you might want it to be 15 in Objective 1, 5 in Objective 4. Again, you can work with your metrics committee assigned person to work out those details. On the next slide, mentioned bonuses. Yes, there are bonuses. So we have developed bonuses to further promote the use of our next capstones, as Denise mentioned, using those outreach PD and DEI libraries, and then feeding back into them, providing updates to the rest of our membership through winning EDGE articles and pictures. There's bonuses for collaborating with other organizations so that we amplify our events and reach as many people with them as possible. And then there's also points for hosting national and regional conferences, for sponsoring booths that also make our events better, and for mentoring students at our national and regional conferences. And then, as Denise mentioned, if you attend an NEI Nuclear Matters webinar and apply that in one of your activities, there's bonus points for rolling that forward. So really tried to bake into this process the things that we are hoping our chapters do to further promote our success and our objectives. On the next slide, you'll see, I put the link in there. I know it's not a live link that you can go click on, but you'll get that link from your metrics committee member who's assigned to your chapter. They'll provide that link, and when you click on it, what you should see is in that screenshot that'll come up, and that is what's called a Microsoft form. It's really like a survey. You're going to select your chapter from the drop-down. If you don't see it, that means it's not a recognized chapter yet. So you'll need to make sure you go through the WIN website to request that chapter recognition. But here you'd also enter your information for your chapter contact information. And at the end of each section, you'll hit submit. So here's where, if you've already entered the information, everything except the chapter, that's the only drop down, you'll be able to copy and paste the blue sections from your worksheet into this form. You don't have to type everything again. So that's where we want to make it easier for you. You can save that worksheet over and each quarter and not have to type that in every time. And then once you put it in your worksheet, you can copy and paste it. On the next screen, you'll see an example. There's some check boxes. So this is from the bonus section of the things. So you'll go through entering your committee members, your programs, and then each objective, and then you'll get to the bonus section. So each time you'll select the appropriate check boxes. And then we talked about the blue sections on the worksheet. You would highlight all the filled in blue fields in your Excel spreadsheet, copy that, either right click and select copy, or you can use the shortcut Control C, and then you would come into this white box that says enter your answer. And you would just either right click and paste or Control V to paste, and that data will be captured. And then you would hit next to go to the next section. So you'll do that once for objective 1, objective 2, and so on. When you get to the bonus section, you'll see the bottom screenshot there. It'll say submit. So you have up until that point that it says submit to go back through and make changes. And I suggest if you have to make changes to the white box, delete it, copy and paste again. But again, once you get through the bonus section and you hit submit, you are now done. If you do have to make changes, you'll need to talk to your metrics committee member. They can make a small change for you once they get the spreadsheet. If you have to make a huge revision, tell them you just want to submit again, and then we would just take your second submission. We would delete your first submission from our data. But again, you need to work with your metrics committee member if you have to make any major changes like that. And then I think my last slide is next. And so again, we're collecting 2 quarters at once, Q1 and Q2. We had some pilot chapters run through Q1. We had a lot of good feedback from it. People thought it was very simple to do. They like the points. There's still a lot of questions and things we have to work through, but as we get through all the chapters doing this, but we had large chapters and small chapters use it, and no one had any challenges, technical challenges, prevent them from meeting deadlines. We changed the color of the form for Q2 in case you're doing Q1 and Q2 at the same time. They do have to be submitted separately. They do have to be submitted on time to be eligible for awards. Q1 and Q2 are due at the end of August, the 31st. And then we get back to our normal rotation. Q3 would be due October 31st, Q4, January 31st, and so on to keep you eligible for awards. And we want as many chapters as possible to be eligible. So that completes the training that I had planned, but I'll stick around for any questions that you guys have.
Hey, Victoria. So I can lead the Q&A. There's quite a few in the Q&A button. Just a reminder, if you do need to ask a question, please put it in the Q&A tab, not the chat, but I will check the chat because I believe there was a few there. So these are most of them are metrics related, but I will just open it up to any steering committee member, but Victoria, these I think are for you mostly. So the first question, and I think some of these you answered, but when does this format go into effect? Next quarter 3Q, and I think you just talked about that. But if you wanted to add anything more there, happy to give you a moment.
Now, if there's any, if we have any additional ones, but yeah, Q1 and 2 are due the end of August 31st. And if you're having issues, please don't wait till August 31st to try and submit. Please try it ahead of time. Give yourself a couple of days in case you need some help. But we have, like I said, we haven't had any technical issues to date from our pilot chapters.
Next question. While filling out the new metrics form, I sometimes have an event or two that doesn't necessarily fit into any of the categories. I think it would be beneficial to have another option to document these types of events. An example I've come across is hosting a charitable event. I have seen the option of supported a charitable event, but nothing for hosted a charitable event. Could this be an option to add?
And we already do have an other listed in each objective. So we will be evaluating anything submitted as other for the first several quarters. Again, I don't know that there'll be much benefit points wise for hosting versus supporting a charitable event, since the same outcome is, basically that social and team building portion, the belonging portion from a membership standpoint.
Under objective 2, the designator 2I is for WIN chapter meetings 1 per quarter. I was wondering if this is what leading group and region meetings should be listed as, and does the same rule apply? So I think the question is there a different points for local versus national meetings?
So the leading group meetings and committee meetings are already accounted for in the points that leading group members are getting just for being a leading group member and for committee members. So you'll see on the guide that talks about membership and programs, it lists what those points stand for. And it's all those responsibilities for being in that position. And that's including attending those meetings. The meeting 2I's is simply for if the chapter membership at the site get together and have like a monthly meeting or a quarterly meeting to determine what they're going to work on for the next month or next quarter, plan their events. That's one meeting per month, maximum per chapter.
Next is a GROW related, how to categorize GROW activities. So how and where do we log GROW virtual mentoring sessions as well as GROW seminars? For example, 2 members at my site had monthly GROW meetings with their mentors. Do we log that?
Now we are providing points for all GROW mentors and mentees, and that's to include all of their virtual sessions, all of the general sessions. The only difference we're going to have is when there's an in-person GROW session, like we had our very first one a couple months ago in Atlanta. That's a much bigger commitment. So attending that in-person GROW session was more like attending like a regional conference almost. So that's the only separate points that'll be awarded outside of the GROW on the first member tab.
Okay, our site leading group meets once per month. Can that also be logged in addition to our large group committee meetings, or is it just one?
And we've had that question a couple times. It is a separate body that's meeting. So we have, in the pilot, we recognize that they are a separate entity meeting and planning. So we did award those points.
Okay. When should we expect to receive the submission link for Q1 and Q2 metrics?
What was that? I'm sorry.
I think they want to know when they're going to get the link.
Their metrics, the metrics
Yeah.
committee, they sent it out to all the metrics committee members yesterday. So they should be reaching out to their points of contact. If you're not, I noticed that some of them, I know for my chapter, that person was wrong. That person had retired. So I did let them know the point of contact needed to be updated, and they were working on that, but you should be receiving that in the next, I would say, no more than a week from now, but probably this week from your metrics member.
And I would just say if you find that that is the case at your chapter, that you are welcome to reach out to Brenda and Scarla, the co-chairs for the metrics committee, and just let them know, hey, we haven't received it yet. Our metrics designated person might need to be updated, and just get in touch with them. And you can get their emails on the About Us leadership page on the WIN website, which does not require logging in. So you can get their emails there. Okay, have y'all had time to update the metrics and other points of, oh, we just talked about that. Right. So if, again, Rebecca, if you haven't gotten your metrics, I would just email Brenda and Scarla. It might just be that they have a previous person still listed for your chapter. Okay, see another question about point of contact. So I would just reiterate that. Can we have access to the Excel template? If yes, how? And I think we talked about that the Excel template will be sent out to the metrics contact.
Right now, it's currently available on the WIN website on the metrics page. So you can go and download that. And if you have any issues with that, your metrics person can send it to you.
We will make these slides available as well. I think I wrote that in the chat, as well as this is a recording. So you'll see all of this content on our YouTube. Okay. And actually, Scarla is on because she asked a question also, or she made a comment. So Scarla is one of our co-chairs for the metrics committee. She's just reiterating that if you do not receive an email by Friday of this week, then please email Brenda or Scarla, or both. Okay. Is there a detailed list of all U.S. WIN awards and the criteria needed to win, as well as deadlines to enter? It would greatly help our chapters better understand and work on these goals in 2025.
So I don't know if anybody from awards the awards committee is on that wanted to talk about it, but I would say the deadlines for being eligible for the chapter awards are the last day of the month following the quarter, and you have to submit all 4 quarters on time to be eligible for the next year's award. And each one follows the what the objective is about. So how much the chapter did to further advance us for those metrics. Again, with it changing, we're going from the 3 pillars, which we awarded this past conference, to the 4 objectives next year. But there isn't a separate application to win a chapter award. It's submitting your metrics. The only ones that we take applications for right now are the U.S. WIN Leadership Award and the Champion Award for individual people.
And Marianne is on, and I'm going to allow, just give me a second. I can allow you to talk, Marianne. So you are now promoted to a panelist, so you should be able to unmute, I mean. A second.
While you're working on getting that set up for Marianne, I'll just add that there is a awards page on the website. So if you go to the news and events drop down, there is a page for the awards there. And so you can see all of the past awards, like Victoria mentioned, these previously aligned with our 3 strategic objectives. Now that we've revised the strategic objectives, the awards will also be revised to be in line with our new 4 strategic objectives. But going forward, if you wanted to see that on the website, we do have a whole page on the website for the awards.
Oh, unfortunately, due to some software things, Marianne can't be promoted, but she is in the chat. So if she's active in the chat, so if you have questions, she is there and can give you those details. But Lily's accurate that we have a web page with all that information.
And Lisa posted the award page link in the chat.
Thank you, Lisa. And I see Scarlett answered the question that was just asked by Carla, but just for the group's benefit, our chapter metrics need to go through public utterance. In the past, we've had to submit some blank forms, and then we're able to send in the approved metrics after the due date. Is that something that will continue? And yes, that will be the same process. Okay, so those are the questions in the Q&A, but then there were some in the chat. So let me just go back and make sure we didn't miss anything. We talked about access to the template. For the number of public attendees, if we don't know the exact number that were present, can we make our best estimate?
Yeah, I think that's about all you can do is, especially if you have large numbers, for smaller events, you can have sign-ins, and larger events, you can work with the event coordinators for how many people were in attendance.
Okay. I think that's it. Does anyone have any other kind of last questions? Okay. Anyone else from the steering committee?
Caitlin, can I just say that although we made the metrics process easier for chapters, as we've been told by the pilot chapters, it is a heavier lift for the metrics committee members, especially in the front end. So please be responsive to them, be patient with their questions, and be responsive when they have questions. But they have a lot on their plate to go through for reviewing metrics the first couple of quarters. So I want to thank them for their commitment to stay on the committee or join the committee if we have new members, and just recognize and appreciate their service on that committee.
And also, if you're interested in participating in the committee, they're always looking for more members, as are all of our committee members. And so when I send out the slides and the link for you to this attendee list, I will include the link for you to sign up for a committee. So please share it with your other chapter members. It's just another way to get some points. So, Julianne, any closing comments?
Julianne lost power and had to drop off.
Okay, no problem. Victoria, as our past chair, any closing comments?
Thanks, Caitlin. I think all of our panelists were fantastic in our sharing of our new objectives. To our leading group members, anyone that has questions about any of them, please reach out to any of us. Really proud of the work US WIN is doing. And Caitlin, thanks for setting up the webinar. Very well done.
All right, well, with that, just a reminder, I will send out the slides once this recording is live on YouTube, and that way you'll get both at the same time and the committee sign up link. So thanks everyone, and have a wonderful rest of your week.